You're lying in bed, phone in hand, scrolling through, people laughing at parties you weren't invited to, couples posting photos from trips you didn't take, friends tagging each other in things that have nothing to do with you. And somewhere between the third and fourth scroll, this quiet, heavy feeling settles in your chest. You're not sad exactly. You're not crying. You're just empty. Here's the strange part. You have friends. You have people who would pick up if you called. You have a life that, from the outside, looks completely fine. So why does it feel like you're watching the world through a window? What you're feeling has a name, and it's not what you think it is. Stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to share fundamentally changed how I understand human connection, and more importantly, why so many of us feel profoundly alone even when we're surrounded by people. This isn't a video about being antisocial. It's not about introverts versus extroverts. And it's definitely not going to tell you to put your phone down and go outside. What this is the real science of loneliness. What it actually does to your brain, your body, and your behavior. Why it's more dangerous than almost anyone is talking about. And what you can actually do about it. There's one thing in particular, a psychological trap that lonely people fall into that makes loneliness worse the longer it goes on. Most people never find out about it until it's already taken years from them. We'll get to that. But first, let me tell you about a woman named Maya. Maya is 24. She has 800 followers on Instagram. She FaceTimes her friends regularly. She goes out. She's in group chats. She is, by every visible measure, connected. But at night, when the phone goes dark and the apartment goes quiet, she feels something she can barely describe. Like she's performing a version of herself all day, and no one is watching the real one. She's not depressed. She's lonely. And here's what makes her story fascinating and a little disturbing. Maya is not unusual. Maya is the norm. In 2023, the United States Surgeon General, the top doctor in the country, issued an official advisory declaring loneliness a public health epidemic. Not a lifestyle trend, not a generational complaint, an epidemic. The same category as obesity, smoking, and opioids. 1 in 3 adults reports feeling lonely on a regular basis. And the number has been rising for decades, long before the pandemic accelerated it. But wait, we live in the most connected era in human history. We carry devices that give us instant access to billions of people. We can video call someone on the other side of the planet in seconds. So how is it possible that we're lonelier than ever? To answer that, we have to go somewhere unexpected. We have to go back about 50,000 years. Here's something your biology textbook probably didn't tell you. Your brain was not built for the modern world. It was built for the savannah. And on the savannah, being separated from your group wasn't just uncomfortable. It was a death sentence. No tribe meant no protection from predators. No shared food. No help raising children. Isolation equaled extinction. So your brain evolved an alarm system. A powerful, automatic, deeply wired signal that would motivate you to reconnect with the group the moment you drifted too far. That alarm is loneliness. John Cacioppo, one of the most important psychologists of the last century, spent decades studying this. He called loneliness a biological warning signal, the social equivalent of hunger or thirst. Just like hunger says get food or you'll die, loneliness says get connection or you'll die. And here's where it gets wild. Cacioppo's research showed that loneliness activates the same regions of your brain as physical pain. Not metaphorically, literally. The same neural circuits that light up when you break your arm light up when you feel socially excluded. That hollow ache? That's not weakness. That's your nervous system screaming at you that something is wrong. But here's the part nobody tells you. And this is the part that changes everything. That alarm system? It was designed for a world where the threat was temporary. You'd wander too far, feel the pain, return to the tribe, and the alarm would switch off. In the modern world, the alarm never switches off. And when a biological alarm runs continuously for months or years, it starts to do something deeply counterproductive. Remember when I said there's a psychological trap that makes loneliness worse over time? Here it is. When your brain decides you're in social danger. And chronic loneliness does exactly that. It goes into a state called hypervigilance. Your threat detection system cranks up to maximum. You start scanning every interaction for signs of rejection. You read neutral expressions as cold. You interpret silence as anger. You assume the worst. You become, without realizing it, socially defensive. And here's the cruel irony. The very thing you need, connection, becomes the thing that feels most dangerous. You cancel plans because they probably don't really want me there. You don't text first because I don't want to seem desperate. You stay quiet in the group because what if I say something wrong? You pull back. You protect yourself. And from the outside, you look distant. Closed off. Hard to reach. So people stop trying, which confirms every fear you had in the first place. This is the loneliness spiral. And the longer it runs, the tighter it gets. A landmark study out of the University of Chicago found that chronically lonely people are significantly more likely to interpret ambiguous social signals as threatening. They're not imagining things. Their brains have been literally rewired by prolonged isolation to see danger everywhere. Loneliness doesn't just hurt. It changes how you see the world. Now here's the part where I need you to really pay attention, because this is where it stops being abstract and gets very, very real. Loneliness kills. I don't mean that poetically. I mean in the same clinical, statistical sense that smoking kills or obesity kills. A massive meta-analysis from Brigham Young University, pulling data from over 3 million people, found that loneliness increases your risk of early death by 26%. To put that in perspective, that's roughly equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Think about that. We put health warnings on cigarette packets. We run national campaigns about smoking. But nobody talks about loneliness the same way, even though the mortality risk is comparable. And it's not just lifespan, it's quality of life. Chronic loneliness elevates cortisol, your stress hormone, around the clock. Sustained cortisol dysregulation disrupts your sleep, weakens your immune system, increases inflammation in the body, and significantly raises your risk of cardiovascular disease. Lonely people get sick more often. They recover more slowly. Their brains age faster. Their risk of dementia increases. The Harvard study of adult development tracked the same group of people for over 80 years, the longest study of human happiness ever conducted. The single clearest finding across 8 decades of data: close relationships are the most powerful predictor of health and happiness. More than wealth, more than status, more than genetics. Not hundreds of connections, not a massive social circle, just a handful of people who really know you. Let me give you 2 more people who made me think about this differently. David is 67. His wife of 34 years passed away 3 years ago. He has children, good ones, who love him, but they live in different cities and visit maybe once a month. He has neighbors he waves to, a barber he's seen every 6 weeks for 15 years. But David hasn't had a conversation where someone really asked how he was and waited for the real answer, and longer than he can remember. This is one of the most under-discussed forms of loneliness. Role loss. For decades, David was a husband, a father in a full house, a colleague. Those roles structured his connection. When they fell away, so did the relationships built into them. Nobody ghosted David. Nobody abandoned him. The connection just quietly dissolved. Then there's Kofi, 38 years old, senior manager at a logistics company. His calendar is packed. He travels 4 days a week. He's at dinners. He's at conferences. He's surrounded by people in every professional sense. But Kofi doesn't have a single person he could call at 2 a.m. with a real problem. This is the loneliness of the high performer. The person whose entire social life is transactional, useful, even enjoyable, but never deep. He's confusing busyness for connection. Maya, David, Kofi. 3 completely different lives. The same biological alarm, ringing with no one to hear it. So what do you actually do? I'm not going to tell you to be more vulnerable or put yourself out there. That advice, while not wrong, is about as useful as telling someone who's drowning to try swimming. Here's what the science actually says. First, understand the difference between quantity and quality. Research consistently shows that what matters is not how many people you know. It's whether you have even 2 or 3 people who know the real you. If your entire social life is surface level, you could be surrounded by people and still be deeply lonely. Start auditing for depth, not numbers. Second, reach out today, not tomorrow. This sounds embarrassingly simple. But one of Cassiopo's most important findings was that the biggest barrier to reconnection isn't opportunity. It's initiation. We wait for the other person to reach out. We assume they're busy. We talk ourselves out of a text that would take 12 seconds to send. Pick one person right now. Send them something. Not, we should catch up sometime. Something specific. Something real. Third, name the spiral when it starts. The next time you feel that pull to cancel, to withdraw, to assume the worst about a quiet message, pause. Say to yourself, out loud if you have to, my brain is scanning for threats. This is the alarm, not reality. That's not therapy speak. That's cognitive diffusion, a technique with strong research backing that breaks the automatic threat response loop. Fourth, do things side by side. Here's something counterintuitive. Forced face-to-face conversation, the let's sit down and talk kind, is actually one of the harder ways to build connection. Research on bonding shows that shared activity works faster and more naturally. Walking, cooking, playing a game, building something. You bond through parallel experience, not just direct eye contact. The best relationships often happen at angles, not straight on. Fifth, change how you use social media. Not less social media, different social media. Studies show that passive scrolling, consuming without engaging, consistently increases loneliness. Active use, posting, commenting, direct messaging does not. The same platform, used differently, produces completely opposite results. If you're going to be on your phone anyway, send 3 real messages instead of scrolling for 30 minutes. Let's come back to the city street. The one full of people moving past each other in silence. We started this video with the feeling of watching the world through a window, of performing connection without experiencing it, of lying in bed at night and feeling that inexplicable emptiness. Now you know what that is. It's not a flaw. It's not weakness. It's not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a 50,000-year-old alarm system doing exactly what it was designed to do, telling you that you need the tribe, telling you that isolation is dangerous, telling you, in the only way it knows how, to reach out. The tragedy is that in the modern world, that alarm has lost its map. It rings, and instead of guiding us toward connection, it convinces us that connection is exactly what we can't have. Maya, David, Kofi, they're not broken people. They're people caught in a biological loop that nobody ever explained to them. You now have the explanation. And here's what I know to be true. The moment you understand that loneliness is a signal and not a sentence, everything shifts. Not because the feeling disappears overnight, but because you stop fighting yourself and start understanding yourself. That's where it changes. Before this video ends, I want to challenge you to do one thing. Think of one person, just one, you've been meaning to reach out to, someone you think about but haven't spoken to in a while, someone who might be sitting with their own version of this feeling right now. Send them a message today. Not, we should hang out. Something real. Something that says, I see you. I was thinking about you. You matter. Loneliness is loudest when we stay silent. It fades the moment we speak. If this video hits somewhere real for you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You might not know who that person is, but they'll know when they see it. And if you want to go deeper, the next video covers the psychology of rejection and why some people seem immune to it. Trust me, it connects directly to everything we talked about today. I'll see you there.